In today's video, we're going to look at some of the landing page design tricks you can learn from one of the internet's biggest companies. Hello, I'm Shane from Thrive Themes, and this is another landing page replica video where we take a landing page online and we take a look at how you can create the same thing or something very similar using Thrive landing pages. Today, we're going to do this looking at the landing page for Facebook Messenger, and this is it right here. So if we have a quick scroll through here, this is how Facebook advertises their Messenger app. And as you can see, well, first of all, it's a fairly simple landing page. They haven't overloaded this with a ton of stuff, but they've also done a couple of clever things here that we will take a look at. Now, last time I did a landing page replica video, I went into a lot of detail to show you exactly how you can replicate something one-to-one. This time I want to do it slightly differently. It would also take quite a long time because this is a longer landing page to do it in that level of detail. This time I want to go through this landing page, show you how to replicate some parts of it, and I want to show you some of the things from this landing page that maybe you didn't realize you could do in Thrive landing pages, and also some of the things that we can learn from this landing page that, because it was clearly made by people who already switched on, know what they're doing. There's some clever things here, some clever details that we can learn from. So let's get started right away. One of the first things I'm looking at here is we basically have several sections, and one of the things right away, we have a floating header here, which is something we can't do in Thrive landing pages, at least not yet. But we basically have the sections. We have a header section, then we have this top section, which is white. Then we have a blue section after that, then we have another white section, and then we have this dark footer section. And so that's where I would start with my landing page. From the templates, I will select the blank full width page. So we'll build this completely from scratch. And here I will start by, I'll get rid of this logo and I'll get rid of this bit. We'll just use this main section here. And right away, I'll basically duplicate this section. So we need a header, title, blue section, white section, and footer section. And right away, we know that the first one here, so basically I'm building the overall structure of the page first, right? By just duplicating the existing full width section. So we have a header that's white, then we know the next one is white as well. Then we have a blue section, and here we can use the same trick I used last time. Click on it, go inspect element, and then here we want to find the background color, which is this color here. In the inspector, we can see this. So we copy that, and in the background color options, we enter this here, and that gives us the right tone of blue. Oh, I'm in the wrong section. So I want the third section right here, background color, like this. So that gives us the correct tone of blue. Then we have white, and then we have this dark section. And again, I can find the color quite easily. So this section here is white. And then the last one is dark. And I think this helps. It's a good way to start because right away we can kind of see the basic structure and the bits of the page that we're going to fill in next. The next thing I want to do is I want to adjust the fonts to be similar to our target page. I'm going to add a paragraph. So we have a heading here and we have a paragraph, and I want these as examples. And so what we can do is we can use the same approach again. I can inspect this message here and I will find information about the font here somewhere. We can see that it is Helvetica. Now Helvetica is a premium font. You would have to purchase the license for this font, and that's something that you might encounter often. You might see a font somewhere, and even if you do this trick with the inspection, you can find out exactly what font it is, but maybe you don't want to buy a font. And so what can we do? Well, here's one of the things that you can do to get a similar look and feel. We'll go to Google Fonts, and Thrive landing pages and all Thrive products integrate with Google Fonts. So anything you see here, you can use in our products. So we'll go here and you can see there's a lot of filtering options. And this is a great way to maybe not find the exact font you need, but to find something that has the same kind of look and feel. So if we look at this font, what can we tell? Well, we can tell that it is a sans serif font, so it doesn't have like serifs at the bottom of letters. And we can also tell it's fairly slim, right? It's a thin and relatively slim font. So what we can do is, first of all, deselect everything except sans serif. That will give us the right kind of font right away. And then we can add some filters. So thickness, I know that it's pretty thin. So if I move this slider back, now I can see, well, the choices it's giving me here, these are actually too thin. So a bit more thickness, that's probably closer to what I'm looking for. Maybe this level or this level of thickness is about what I'm looking for. Also slant, we don't have any slant, but none of these suggested fonts have a slant either, so it doesn't matter. And then width is another factor, right? There's a big difference between, let's see, a really wide font like this or a really narrow font like this. And so we can see, where is this? It's kind of in between, right? So I would adjust this setting here until, then maybe it's a bit thicker, until I get something where I get roughly the right kind of look and feel. And so this is a way to get basically, I mean, the selection of fonts here out of whatever 700 fonts or something on Google. All of these are much, much closer to the basic look and feel of what we have here than, you know, if I just randomly scroll through the list and hope to find something. So after a bit more tweaking on these sliders and just comparing back and forth, this is the list I ended up with. I think these are basically the most similar fonts we have. So Open Sans, Roboto, these kinds of fonts. And I think Roboto is probably a fairly close match. And by the way, also, you know, for Helvetica, Arial is also somewhat a match, but of course font snobs will tell you nothing is like Helvetica, and they're not wrong. So what we're going to do is I'm going to save the changes on this page to get started, and then I'm going to go to landing page, and I want to go to landing page settings and font settings, or landing page fonts. And here is where I can start setting these fonts. Now, I don't have it in the list yet, so I'm going to go to add new custom font. And then here I want to go add new. And here we'll do a search for Roboto. This is the one we want. And then thickness, so I'll probably go with fairly thin and maybe like this, 300, 500. Save that. This will load the font onto my site and make it available for the page. So now custom fonts, I can choose Roboto and I can make adjustments, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but I can make adjustments to get these fonts to look right. Okay, so now we've got our fonts set up more or less. What I want to do is I'm going to clear this first section here, because what we have in the first section here is a menu. That's on the side here, and that's something we can do exactly like that as well. We go to widgets, custom menu, drop a menu in here, and then we want that to be right aligned. We want it to have a blue hover effect like that. And we definitely want it to take up less space. So we will go to margins and paddings, maybe get rid of it like this. All right, and then we have a layout right here, which is basically larger on the right side, narrower on the left side. So I'm going to get a column layout, 1/3, 2/3. That was between the sections. I want it inside here. So, and then on the right side, we have an image, which I've already stolen basically from the page. So we can have the same image here, like that. And then here we have the title. And I'm just going to enter the text here, and we'll skip ahead to the next part. Okay, so I've added a bit of text stuff here. For the next bit, for the button, let's have another quick look. If you have a button here, I can inspect the button again and find the button color, which would be this, copy, and I can apply that. So I'll drop the button in here. We want style 1 is probably about right, and it's basically full width, right? We want it to be wider than this. And then we apply this shade of blue like this. So that's how we get the right kind of button color. But the main thing I wanted to show here is, this is what it looks like if I just drop the text and the elements in. And you can see that there's, even though it's similar, there's some important differences between what this looks like right now and what this looks like. And well, first of all, we have a logo at the top, which I'll insert right now as well. So that would just be an image right here, like this. And then we center align it. Okay, so now it's a bit more similar, but still something's different. And this is where a certain attention to detail really starts showing, because one of the things you'll notice is that there's a clear idea of visual hierarchy here. Right, we have something that's very important, which is this button. We have the logo and the title and the button. Those are the most noticeable elements on the page. And then we have a secondary option, switch account, and then we have some notes about other apps. And see how they change the size and the brightness or the contrast of these elements to make them not distract of the main thing. And that's very clever. And also with the spacing. So here it all looks a bit crowded, but if I basically emulate this, what I do is I'd add more spacing here. So it might be something like this. And I'll make the color like this, so it's less contrast. And then here it's the size. They use the size on this. It's something like this. And now suddenly we have the same elements here, but because of the spacing, because of the way the contrast was changed, the focus is on this area here. And then maybe another detail is that they shift the whole thing down a little bit. So I would add more of a top margin like this to just balance it out with what we have on the side here. And these are some details that I think are very easily missed, but if you pay attention to what's important and you apply these principles, or you can kind of de-emphasize the less important bits, and that can make a big difference in what kind of an impression your design makes. Now, the next bit I want to look at is this right here. Here we have an effect where it kind of looks like this image with these phones is on a layer behind the rest of the page. And this is something we can do as well. So first of all, we have a column layout again inside the blue section. So I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to get columns. I'm going to do 2/3 and 1/3 like this. And we have, or maybe it's even half and half actually, that might be maybe more like this. And we have an image over here. And we have some text over here. So let me just add the image and then fill in the rest here, and we'll jump ahead to the next part. So here I've added some content, and we can center align this. But you'll see that, of course, there's a lot of space between the top and bottom borders and this image. So the two things we can do to emulate this same effect is, first of all, in the image itself, we cut off the top and bottom bits here. And then we basically want to remove all the margins and padding between these borders and the image. So on the image itself, we get rid of the top and bottom margins. Then in the column, there's going to be some margins. So get rid of that. There's also some padding. We get rid of that. And then in the section itself, there is some inside padding by default that we can also get rid of. And as soon as we get rid of all these top and bottom bits of padding, we get the same effect. So without any, needing any kind of layering or z-index or anything like that, we can get this same kind of effect as we have here. All right, then we have another thing we can do. We can get this button here. Let's see. Yeah, we can get this button color. So the way we can do that is duplicate the button we already had, because they're pretty similar, and apply the different color to this one. And it seems that I actually have the wrong background color here. So let's go and fix that. Select the section here, and this would be the right color for our background. Seems like last time I accidentally got the button color. Here we go. Also, this button here, we change the alignment because it's a smaller button, and then we'd move all of this down by some amount like this to get a similar effect. And then another detail that I think is quite important is just the white space here, this empty space, because in my design it looks a bit cramped right now. If I just select this part here and add some more space, gives it a bit more room to breathe and makes it much nicer to look at. Now, on the original page, after this, we've got a heading and some text, that's no problem. And then with this grid here, I want to show you another thing you can do. So again, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So I've added a bit of text here, which isn't very interesting, but what we want to do is we want to have a column layout here with 3 columns. And so we're building this part. In every column, there's an icon and a bit of text. So let's, for the icon, you could either use an actual icon or you can use an image. And on the Facebook page, it's images. So I'm gonna upload this image and center line it. Then we have some text underneath it. The text is also much closer to the image than here. So this is again, margin and padding controls. As you can see often, makes a lot of difference if you just basically go in, you get your margins and paddings, and you fiddle with those settings a bit, you can make something look a lot nicer. And now what we can do is, well, we can basically just copy and, duplicate these bits, because then we don't have to reset the margins everywhere. So I just duplicate them, drop them into the next column, and same for this. And now I can replace the images like this. Actually, I think I have this one, change image. There we go. And then this one, change image, is actually, I'm not sure which one it is, but it doesn't really matter. One of these icons. And while we're looking at this, there's also something very clever about these specific icons that Facebook is using here. Because if you look here, this is a 3 kilobyte file. So these are image files, but they're very simple line icons. And the big advantage of a much simpler image over a more complex one is that it's tiny. So if we look at the image with the phones, for example, that's almost 500 kilobytes, right? So that's because it's a complex image, lots of colors, lots of shades and so on, it takes more data to load that image. So when you see this on websites, when you see very minimal icon styles used, or in general, flat design and minimalism, that's one of the reasons that is being used, is because it's a performance advantage, it's a site loading speed advantage. And of course, if it's done right, it still looks awesome. So to get back to this layout, we have our basic 3-column layout, but there's also one difference. If you see this here, this looks more spread out than this here, right? This looks like more compact. And the easiest way to get the same kind of effect is to just drop everything into a content container. So I'll add a content container here and select it and make it less wide, maybe 900 pixels or so. And then I will drop the entire row of columns in here, like this. And now it already looks much more like our original example. And then the next thing is that what you can do, which is really time saving, is just duplicate the whole row of columns. There's maybe a bit more spacing here as well. Maybe we want to go like this. But then again, I just replace each of these icons and change the text, and it's much, much faster than building one cell after another. So it's just another little time saving thing. And then at the bottom of this, we have a button, which actually, I'm going to get this one again. I'm going to duplicate the existing button because they are quite similar. So something like that. And I'm not going to go into detail about that. The last thing I want to show is, once again, we have an interesting detail, which is this image here, which again sits on top of the border, kind of gives it a layered effect as if they're behind this footer. And we can do pretty much the same thing by dropping an image right here. And I uploaded the image here. We want to center align the image and then do the same thing we did before, just with the bottom. So I don't want any padding or margin at the bottom here for the entire section. I'm going to select the entire section that this is inside and remove the bottom padding. That might already do it. Let's see. And here we go. So now we have the same effect here. And then at the bottom we have our footer. But there we go. This isn't the perfect replica. Like I said, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. But I think you can see here we have a cool looking page, and it's actually close enough. So even without trying to get it 100% right, I think we have a page that looks fairly similar. This is the original, just so you know, this is the original, this is our replica. And so I hope you can see that there are some things here that when you see a landing page you really like, on the one hand, you have many tools in Thrive landing pages to really recreate the same page, but also a little playing around with things like margin settings, which is like, you know, the secondary settings, which aren't as obvious as things like alignment and size and so on. But playing around with some of the secondary settings can really generate some cool looking effects, like this layered effect we have here and here. You can save time by using duplication cleverly. And also, and I think this is one of the biggest learning points for me from landing pages, I always try to pay attention to, you know, things like spacing, things like how do they use white space. And one of the things I notice is that I often spend, once I've built the content for a page, I often spend quite a lot of time, you know, going through and just adjusting spacing, adjusting margins to make things look more balanced. And that's something where looking at an example page, a professionally designed example page, can really help me get some ideas, because since I'm not a designer, I don't really know how to do this. But as you can see, if I have an example to follow, I can make something that looks quite nice. All right, if you have any questions about this, let us know by leaving a comment below, and also let us know what you thought of this video. And if you have any favorite landing pages that you've seen that you think, I wish I could have one of those, let us know as well. Leave a comment below with a link, and maybe we can make another landing page replica video with some of your favorite examples.